All right, so guys, we're talking about soft underbelly of the beast. Yes. Okay. So Rommel and who's the Desert Fox? Okay, is in North Africa. You got French troops, you got Italian troops, and then the British are in Egypt and the Middle East. Okay, so Rommel wants the Suez Canal. He's going to be met on October 23rd, 1942. This is about 10 months after Pearl Harbor. General Bernard Montgomery will attack Rommel's army here at El Alamein. Okay, by November 4th, the British are going to be successful and break through the Germans and start pushing the Germans back this direction. Okay, on November 8th, American troops, I'll show this on the next slide, are going to land at Casablanca, Oran, and Algiers here. Okay, so the Americans will push this direction, the British will push this direction, and it'll be a pincer movement that will meet in Tunisia here against the Germans. Now, here's the thing, guys. We're getting on towards 1943, but there's stuff going on in the Pacific that we also need to talk about. Okay, so I can't finish this war in North Africa yet, okay, because then we're getting too far ahead, okay? Are we good on these notes here? Okay, I talked about this a little bit yesterday at the end of class today because I don't want to put this on the recording because then YouTube may not let me show it. I'll show you a video about the Enigma, and then I have another video to show you to end class, which is good. It'll be about 10, 15-minute video, okay? Quality, okay? So, okay, so check out this map, guys, all right? So the blue is the British, the red is the Germans. So this is El Alamein here. This is where that battle takes place. And guys, this is desert warfare. Okay, so this is tough. So Monty begins to drive back. So this is November 5th, November 15th. Okay, over here, this is Christmas, December 25th. You can see they're pushing the Germans back. Okay, the Americans, this is in the western side of Africa. Okay, Morocco, Casablanca, Oran, and Algiers. These are mostly American troops. This is going to be the first American action, and who are going to be the first troops from what country that the Americans are going to fight against? The French, okay? Then the Italians, all right? And then we're going to meet the Germans here. But, as I said, we're going to have to finish this later. So this is Montgomery, General Bernard Montgomery, or Monty. And then this is Rommel. You can see Rommel here, the Desert Fox. He's got his goggles that he can wear. He's in this convertible. It's all dusty. He's at the front. Okay, he's leading his men. That's the kind of general you want to fight for. Is one that's there with you, not in the rear 50 miles behind. Okay. Now, landing here for the Americans is going to be the U.S. First Army. Okay, they call it the Big Red One. All right, accompanying the First Army will be groups like the 101st Airborne. All right, and they're going to make their push across Africa. So this huge Allied landing will eventually meet with the British in Tunisia. We're going to have to finish that later. Because we're getting too far ahead of ourselves. Okay. So you got the European theater. This is the European theater. And then you got the Pacific theater. Two theaters of war. With me? Okay. So this guy, Monty, he's British, right? Our generals don't really like this guy. The U.S. generals don't like this guy. We're going to have ourselves a genuine testosterone contest here between the American generals and the British. Okay? Yeah. Listen, all of these generals want to be talked about in the history books. They all want the glory of victory. You following me? Okay? And so some of these names we will talk about. Others we will not. Some will be forgotten. Okay? So whoever gets to draw up the battle plan, depending on which general gets to fight that battle, they're the ones that are going to get the victory and the glory. You understand? And so we don't like it when this guy gets the glory. Monty. Okay, it's the British 8th Army. Talk more about them later and some of the American generals as well. Okay. All right. So let's move our attention to the Pacific. Now, the Japanese just keep winning. They keep winning. December 7th, they attack the Philippines. They're going to defeat us here. They're taking all these island chains. Okay. Now, we're going to play what's called an active defense out here in the Pacific. We're not going to go on the offense, but there's certain areas that we can't allow the Japanese to take. And most importantly, that's Hawaii. Okay, now, there's an island here called Midway. If the Japanese take this island, they can attack Hawaii anytime they want. The American Samoa is down here. If they take the American Samoa, they can shut off any type of shipping to Australia. Australia is our Britain in the Pacific. We need those shipping lanes to stay open, okay? Now, I know you guys have been wondering, Mr. Ebright, what's going on with Latin America during this time in World War II? Right?
I was going to ask that.
Yo. Spam risk. My wife's traveling today, so I have my phone on. Okay. Yes. She flew into Minneapolis. She's flying to Minot, I believe, North Dakota, and then driving up into Canada for the week. These people in Canada, they don't know what they're doing, so my wife's going up there to straighten them out. Okay. Serious. She's a chemical engineer, project manager. She makes fertilizer. Haven't I told you that? She's my sugar mama. She's really smart, and she knows how to, take a ammonia plant that makes fertilizer and make it bigger and make more fertilizer. So she's a project manager. You know, she does projects that are worth, I don't know, $400 million projects. She's in charge.
You get a good job. She works for Coke?
Yeah.
What does Coke all do?
They are in a lot of different things. They own Georgia Pacific, which is paper, but mostly oil, fertilizer, pipelines, all kinds of stuff. They even bought Purina dog food for one point. They sold it off. They look for acquisitions businesses that they can make more valuable, that they can make money with. They do all kinds of stuff. But fertilizer, they're making a lot of that right now. Okay. So, I left the voicemail, huh? No, that's oh wow. That's weird. Okay. Good. Oh, Latin America. Did we talk about this? Did I tell you that Mexico sent an air squadron? And quinine, I talked about rubber and quinine, hydrochloroquine, and I went off on a rant on that. Yeah. COVID. Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. Hey, you got to hear it from somebody, right? You're not going to hear it from NBC News. They ain't going to tell you. They don't want you to know the truth. Okay? They want you to be a sheep, be a good little sheep, do what you're told. You're told. What we're doing, guys, is we're broadening our minds. So you know what we can do? You know what we can do? We can think for ourselves. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I want. I want you to think for yourself. Don't be a sheep. And if you disagree with me, speak up, please. I don't care. You're allowed to disagree with me. All right, because you're thinking for yourself. And I appreciate that. Got it, Norberto? Got it. Okay. All right. Now, let me go back to this map. Listen, President Roosevelt is upset. This was a sneak attack against the United States. He wants to hit back at Japan. So he's telling his people in the Navy and the Army, he's like, you guys figure it out. We need to hit back at Japan. And they're like, President Roosevelt, if we bring our aircraft carriers in and try and attack Japan like they did Pearl Harbor, what's going to happen to our aircraft carriers? They're going to get sunk. Look at how far this is, guys. Hawaii, you start bringing your aircraft carriers in here, guys, you're going to lose them. And you got to get within 100 miles of Japan to launch an attack. The Japanese control all this. Okay? Yeah, you could try and sneak in. Good luck. But if you lose your carriers, we're done. That sets us back years. So, but Roosevelt is insistent. So he comes up with actually, this is a submarine commander comes up with this idea. Let me show you this. Okay. This is a B-25 Mitchell. It's named after Billy Mitchell. Okay, all right, it's B-25 Mitchell. Here's another B-25 Mitchell. Now it's a bomber. Okay, it's not a fighter plane. Now, this Corsair, this is the ones we fly off aircraft here. Okay, this plane's quite a bit bigger. It's a bomber, which means it has greater fuel capacity. So, what if we put bombers on an aircraft carrier? You're like, Mr. Abraham, how are you going to take off a bomber and an aircraft carrier? Let me show you what this looks like. There's 16 B-25 bombers on this aircraft carrier. Now, how are you gonna take off on that? Yeah, you're gonna stick them all back here in the corner. You have one right here, and you're gonna try and take off. You can't launch it. You can't use the catapult system. It's too heavy. Yeah, this is the idea. Now, they're actually going to have to put these planes on the carrier with a crane. You can't land one of these on an aircraft carrier. So what you're saying? What are you saying? Where are they going to fly to? Okay, so if you can get within 500 miles of Japan, you might not risk losing your aircraft carrier. So then the bomber can come in here, drop bombs on Japan, then what? As soon as those planes leave the carrier, the carrier's getting out of there. It's getting out. So the goal is to land in unoccupied China. See, the Japanese control all of this part of China. So you're going to try and land somewhere over here. I don't know, on a road or something. I don't know where you're going to land. Wherever you can land it. Okay? Hopefully you don't run out of gas. Because you can't put too much gas on these things because they're too heavy. You can't take off. Okay, this is what I need. I need 16 B-25 crews to volunteer for a mission that I can't tell you where you're going to go. I definitely can't guarantee you're going to survive. It's a one-way mission. Okay, I need some volunteers. So 85 air crew members volunteer for this mission. These are them. Now, leading them and training them in short takeoff techniques will be this man. This is Lieutenant Colonel James Doolittle. Okay? Doolittle. Now, how many guys know the story about the Doolittle raid? Okay, this is fantastic. It's crazy. It's what it is. Okay, now, in his hands right here, Doolittle is holding some Japanese friendship medals that the Japanese gave the White House when they were pretending to talk peace before December 7th. And he's going to give them back to the Japanese. He's going to attach them to this bomb, and we're going to give them back to the Japanese, these friendship medals. Now, Doolittle is a lieutenant colonel. He's going to become a general. They don't want him to go on this mission. But he's going to be the first guy off the deck. So he's got the shortest runway. He's going on this mission. Most of these guys are actually going to survive this suicide mission. Okay? So there's a B-25 taking off of the aircraft carrier Hornet. Okay, so here's the notes on that. Now, fortunately for you guys, remember when we watched Pearl Harbor the other day? Remember that? Some of us do. The end of this movie has the Doolittle raid. Yeah. As soon as we get these notes done, I tell a couple stories.
Love story.
Oh, I got stories. I got good stories. Yeah. So listen, guys. The Japanese had 353 aircraft when they bombed Pearl Harbor. 353. We got 16. What kind of damage are we going to do with 16 bombs? Not that much. Yeah. No, these guys don't know what their mission is until they're at sea. Now, they've practiced these short takeoff techniques, okay? But when they're on the Hornet and they leave San Francisco and they're out to sea in the Pacific, they tell them, we're going to bomb Tokyo, okay? Now, targets in Tokyo. I'll tell that story in a minute, okay? Now, so what kind of damage is this going to do? Well, first thing is, guys, this is going to lift American morale. Like, we got the damn Japs back for Pearl Harbor. You know what I mean? People are going to be fired up when they hear this. Yeah.
Are we going to learn about
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Nagasaki. Yeah. We'll talk about the atomic bomb just a little bit today. Okay. But listen. The Japanese believe in this thing called a kamikaze. Everybody's heard that word, kamikaze, right? I think. English translation, it means divine wind. So the Japanese believed that they were protected by this divine wind. This belief goes back to the 13th century. You guys remember hearing about the Mongols? You ever heard of the Mongols before? The Mongols defeated Russia. Nobody's defeated Russia since. And in the 13th century, the Mongols were going to invade Japan. Big armada of ships. In a typhoon, what we call a hurricane, a typhoon, swept the Mongol armada out to sea. So for 500 years, 600 years, the Japanese believe their island is defended by this divine wind. Okay? Well, guys, that belief is shattered. Okay? And it scares the Japanese. I'm going to use a football analogy here. Okay? Everybody knows this analogy, right? At the end of the game, there's a minute left. Your team is down by a touchdown. Mikey, your team is down by a touchdown. Okay? The team that's playing defense is going to put on what kind of defense? So you can't throw the Hail Mary. It's called a prevent defense. They're going to put in more defensive backs and drop them deep so you can't throw the ball. Everybody follow me on this? And your quarterback is Tom Brady. He's got the ball with 1 minute left on his own 20-yard line. You put on a prevent defense. So you're expanding your defense further out, which opens up holes in your defense. And a good quarterback has 1 minute. He's going to throw a 15-yard pass out of bounds, a 20-yard pass out of bounds. Clock stops. Next thing you know, it's a tie game. Okay, because you put on a prevent defense. So when the Japanese, after we hit them, guys, they're worried we're going to do it again. So they start expanding their defense out. In fact, they're going to try and take this island, and we're going to be ready because we know they're coming because we broke their code. So we'll talk about the Battle of Midway this week, which is a huge victory, maybe the biggest victory in the annals of the American Navy. This is a huge victory, okay, because the Japanese were scared. Okay, they extended their defense, and we found holes in it. Does that make sense? So even though it was a small 16 bombers coming in, guys, it had an enormous effect. Okay, now I don't know if I've talked to this class about it or not. You guys know the most popular sport in Japan?
cricket?
Baseball. Have we talked about this?
Yeah.
The most popular sport in South Korea? Baseball. Why? How did that come to be? Baseball. It's an American sport, right? It was invented here. So remember when I talked about the NBC? Listen, if your name was not Babe Ruth in the 1920s as a Major League Baseball player, you didn't make a lot of money. So what Major League Baseball players would do in the offseason is they would do what were called barnstorming tours. So they take a team of major leaguers, go to Wichita, Kansas, and play against local teams. And guess who's paying money? The all-star, the major leaguers are coming to Wichita. Let's go watch, pay money, get tickets, and they give some of that money to the players. Okay? If Babe Ruth comes to your town, guess what? Lawrence Dumont Stadium is going to be packed. And those players are going to make some money. In the 20s, guys, Babe Ruth went with a bunch of all-stars to Japan. This is before the Japanese were crazy, okay? And to Korea, and introduced the game of baseball. And they fell in love with it. Guys, when I was playing JUCO baseball in Florida, we played against this team from Alabama called Andrew College, and they had this Japanese kid on their team. His name was Kenji Yamamoto. And Kenji had the loudest aluminum bat I've ever heard. Every time that Japanese kid would hit the ball, it was just like, ping, ping. And he was tough out. He was a good player. And so I played against that dude like 4 times. And then I went to my 4-year college, and guess who was on that team? Kenji and Yamamoto. Okay, and Kenji and I became teammates and good friends. Okay, that dude liked Marlboro cigarettes and Budweiser. Okay, he's from Japan. He's like, America, Marlboro, Budweiser. Okay, hey, we were in college. All right, so anyhow, Kenji, after he graduated from college, went back to Japan and was the interpreter for the Nippon Giants. So American players will sometimes go over play in Japan. They don't speak Japanese. Kenji speaks Japanese and English, so he would be the interpreter. He'd be on the bench with the Nippon Giants. He still works for the Nippon Giants, okay? And we exchange Facebook pleasantries and stuff like that. But Kenji's a great guy, okay? Anyhow, guys, baseball was huge there. Let me introduce you to this guy. This is Mo Berg, okay? Mo Berg played his college baseball at Yale, okay? And while he was playing at Yale, he was recruited by the OSS, the Office of Strategic Services. This is the precursor to the CIA. So this is our CIA during World War II, Central Intelligence Agency. It's a spy group, okay? This guy at Yale, fluent in 5 languages, including Japanese, goes to work for the OSS while he's playing Major League Baseball. He gets recruited. He plays for the Red Sox. He plays for the Senators. He plays for the White Sox. Okay. He wasn't a starter and he wasn't a star. He's a backup catcher. Okay. He went with Babe Ruth and the other All-Stars to Japan. But he had a side job while he was in Japan. The director of the OSS was a guy named Wild Bill Donovan. And Donovan told Mo Berg, he said, Mo, I want you to go find the tallest building in Tokyo. Here's a camera. It's a panoramic camera. Okay? Now I want you to take pictures of the city for me. So he puts on a kimono. He's acting like a tourist, just wandering around, wanting to get a look. He goes up to, it's a hospital, the tallest building in Tokyo. Okay? And he takes pictures of Tokyo. They used those photographs from the 1920s that Mo Berg took as reconnaissance for targets to hit by the Doolittle Raiders. Okay? That's a good story. There's a book about this guy. It's called Catcher and a Spy.
Catcher in the Rye.
Catcher in the Rye. Catcher and the Spy. Mo Berg. Now, this picture I took at the National Spy Museum in D.C. Can you see my son in the background over here? Oh my God, Dad, stop talking about Mo Berg. No! I got 2 more stories. Okay? Are you ready? So Mo Berg, like by 1944, guys, he's a bullpen catcher with the Red Sox. He's like, dude, I'm going full time with the OSS. So Donovan sent him to Austria in 1944 to a scientific conference. The keynote speaker at the conference was a guy that was the lead scientist for the Germans, their atomic program. See, guys, the Germans are trying to build the atomic bomb. So are we. It's 1944, okay? And the lead scientist for the Germans is a guy named Werner Heisenberg. Heisenberg, say my name. Heisenberg. How many caught that reference? All right, got some Breaking Bad fans in here. Okay, Mr. White is a chemistry teacher. He knows who Heisenberg is. Okay, so his drug nickname becomes Heisenberg. All right, it's good stuff. All right. So, Bo Berg is posing as an intern with Texaco Oil. They give him a pistol and a suicide pill. His job is to find out if the Germans are close to building the bomb. If they are, his job is to assassinate him. If he gets captured, take his own life. Okay? So, he goes to this conference. Here's Heisenberg speak. Doesn't really garner anything from that, but there's a cocktail thing afterwards. So he's eavesdropping, listening to Heisenberg's conversations. And Heisenberg says this. He says, it's 1944. He says, it's too bad Germany's already lost this war. So the pistol went unused. The suicide pill went unused. Okay. One more story on Mo Berg. Some of the stuff he did is still classified. Okay. Now, remember how the president of the United States throws out the first pitch of the baseball season a lot, right? So Roosevelt was throwing out the first pitch of the season. All the players are gathered around the presidential box, and they start to gather around. And Roosevelt looks out amongst the players, and he goes, "Hey, Mo, how you doing?" The other players are like, "How in the heck does Roosevelt know this guy? He's the backup catcher." Well, Mo Berg had been in the Oval Office with Roosevelt. Okay, they were friends. And this was like a master spot in a Major League Baseball game. That's good stuff. Okay.
Felt like after he had like kind of retired from spotting.
No, it was like he was still where he was doing both jobs. It was a perfect cover. Perfect cover. Doing both things. Being a Major League guy and a spot. Okay. Yeah. All right, Jack. We're moving on. Okay. All right. So we got a few minutes? Yes? Let's do it. Power. Okay, by this time in the movie, Rafe and Danny have made up. Okay, but the girl is pregnant, right? With Danny's child. Yeah.
Is this a friend of the original guy?
That's the second one.